Yeah, so I was born and raised in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, which is the middle of nowhere, prairies, Canada. And I started playing electric guitar when I was about 5 years old, and then moved on to classical piano when I was seven. My parents were both trained amateur musicians, so there was always music growing up in my house. And in high school, I moved on to study some brass instruments as well as saxophones, and I always had drums and bass around the house too. So I kind of picked up a lot of instruments, but I didn't actually start singing till I was about 16 or so. And kind of around that time, I discovered jazz like pretty intently. So I was playing a lot of jazz and blues, and then I always knew I wanted to do music. So when I graduated high school, I went to Humber College in Toronto. It's kind of like Canada's answer to Berkeley, for as far as a contemporary music program. And so I did my degree in jazz piano and music production there. And it was a fantastic program. I really grew a lot. And in that time, I was also singing a lot more a cappella music with my own quartet called Rendezvous. And we started doing some barbershop, but then we kind of moved into vocal jazz. And then since I graduated about 3 years ago, I've been working freelance as a musician, playing multiple instruments, doing session work, also working, going on tours with artists. So I've toured kind of all around the world, playing with a whole bunch of different headlining bands. And I also work as a studio engineer and mix engineer, and arranging, composing, kind of doing a little bit of everything, I guess. And I really enjoy it. It keeps me from getting bored, I suppose. And I actually just recently moved to LA. That's where I am now. And so I'm kind of pursuing my career, taking the next step down here. I guess my musical influences kind of growing up, my dad was a rock and roll baby boomer guitar player. So I think Hendrix probably was my earliest influence. And so a lot of rock and roll, Cream, Led Zeppelin, Yardbirds, that kind of thing. So and then but my mom was a classically trained violinist, a singer, and piano player. So I mean, studying classical piano, I very much even though kids often hate lessons, I sometimes did, but I did tend to like the music I was playing. I definitely loved Baroque music. You would find me like listening to Brandenburg concertos in my room as a kid. Not that that made me any smarter, but I mean, it was it was enjoyable experience. And kind of in, I guess, early in my teens, I started getting a little bit more into the blues, but I was still very much an instrumentalist. Like I was very much into guitar, shredders, and the people who could do really amazing pyrotechnics with the guitar. And then in high school, I joined the vocal jazz group, and we sang "When I Fall in Love" was one of the first songs we sang. And just because I kind of want to know more about this song, I searched online and I found the Singers Unlimited version of "When I Fall in Love," which was my first real. I remember that moment, but it was my first real experience with true harmony and vocal jazz, and my brain exploded. I'm like, how is the human voice making these chords, and what am I listening to? And then kind of from then on, I kind of got a very much an ear for harmony and a love for it. Not that I necessarily started singing it too much at that time. And soon after that, I started singing some a cappella in barbershop, that kind of style. And my good friend Danny, who's also from Accent, he got me into barbershop. And then soon after that, Jean-Baptiste Crépeau from France, who's in Accent, we were talking on YouTube, and he sent me some Take Six music. And that, because I hadn't really actually never heard of them before. And I remember he sent me If We Ever from their first record. And I just, again, my mind blew even more. And I just like, what is this? How do people do this? I was just so amazed. And then I've just basically been in love with it ever since, even though I still call myself an instrumentalist and very into jazz and fusion and pop and all sorts of things. But something about vocal harmony is just, it's always going to be my biggest passion, I think. So I kind of got into YouTube multi-tracking, sort of started, I think, around 2007, 2008. And Danny and myself, we were both in Toronto studying music at the time. And we saw some videos of people doing this, so we just kind of said, well, we can sing and we can sing parts, let's do it. And actually, we started doing our own. Like, I would do my own multi-track, singing all the parts, he would do his own. It wasn't until a little bit while later that we actually started doing them together. And it was through that where I met Jean-Baptiste. And, his videos always stood out because he had a little bit more of a jazz tendency, and he had a little bit more of a skill at arranging than most of the other people who were doing it. So I always kept my eye on him. And because of that, we kind of kept in touch. And, we were kind of friends because we have this unique passion in common, which is, so even though you might not even speak the same language really well, it's quite amazing how connected you can feel to someone, especially through vocal harmony music. And so we kind of talked, and then a couple times I actually went to visit him before Accent formed, and we worked on a project together and had a lot of fun. And from that, we kind of decided, hey, maybe we should try take this more seriously. And by that point, we had already been in touch with Evan, and I hadn't met James yet from the UK. And then we kind of got in touch, and then heard about Simon. And the next thing you know, we were kind of like, all right, let's do something. The one thing that's really awesome about Accent is that everyone in this group is an arranger, and so everyone really understands the harmony and their roles. It was pretty evident right off the top, with the beginning of it, who would sing what. Evan obviously being the bass, and Jean-Baptiste with the highest voice, and then the middle inner parts, we kind of already knew what our ranges were, and because we had previous singing experience. So as soon as we did the first formation, we kind of knew exactly what we were all supposed to sing. I would say the most prolific arrangers in the group would be Simon Åkesson from Sweden and James Rose from the UK. They're just at another level. They're quite fantastic. So when it comes to recording repertoire and choosing our selection, when we started with Take 6 material because it was what we were all influenced by. And then as it kind of, as we did a couple of those, we said, well, we kind of have our own sound now. Like we sound like a group. So Simon pitched us an arrangement that he did of Michael Jackson's Keep the Faith, and we did that. And, and from then James did an arrangement for us. And the next thing we know, we've kind of got we got a steady stream of arrangements coming our way. And so I guess when choosing repertoire, we try and choose something that maybe something we quite haven't covered yet, like something that people would think, oh, why would Accent do that? Or that's not something that they would do. Like we've covered some top 40, we've covered Bach, we've covered Stevie Wonder, we've covered Whitney Houston, the Beatles, Christmas carols, like Frosty the Snowman. There's a lot of things that you can do with an a cappella group, and because I think we have our own style and it's very strong, we can kind of put it to anything and kind of accentify it, if that's even a word. In regards to education, many of us in Accent have music degrees, so we've all gone through the process of music school, so we know what that's all about, what it's like to be a student, and what kind of things you want to learn. And because I think we're all pretty well versed in the language of jazz, and especially vocal jazz, we've done a few clinics already. That we've only met twice, so we've only had the chance really to do 2 clinics. So the first one we did was about how to collaborate online, how to make something like similar to what we do. What are the steps to make that happen? Logistically, what kind of equipment do you need? What kind of, I guess, the commitment you need from the people that you're working with, that kind of thing, and just the process of how it happened for us, and using that so other people can probably take those steps and also implement that into any ideas they have. And then the most recent clinic we did in London, at the A Cappella Festival there, was a jazz harmony, a jazz arranging workshop, where we took the simple melody of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and we did it in all the various vocal styles of famous vocal groups. So the Meltones, the Mills Brothers, Singers Unlimited, the Real Group, the Hi-Lo's, Take 6, Eric Whitacre, and even a pop version with beatboxing. So we kind of covered how you can take that and how the sound changes, how different arranging techniques can really bring a song into so many different styles and genres. And that was really well received, and that was a lot of fun for us to do. So what's really great is that we all have an understanding of those types of topics. And I mean, I've done clinics before with my a cappella quartet called Rendezvous, where we would go into high schools and we really try and encourage, especially young guys, to get involved with singing and choir, because once they kind of see a group do it, they're a lot more inspired. Because maybe in high school singing isn't quite popular, although that's radically changing, at least here in the States, with a cappella being as popular as it is, with groups like Pentatonics winning Grammys and things like that. So I think we have definitely a lot to offer in regards to education, from theory to performance, from vocal technique, production, engineering, those kind of things. For us, I think what happened was, when we started, we were 6 individuals. Most of us at that time had pretty active YouTube channels. And also, just because being young musicians, our networks are other young musicians as well. So we were already pretty tied in. And when the time Accent formed, so people who were be following my channel on YouTube, or following Danny's channel, or JB's channel, when we formed Accent, we basically got all of those people in to see us kind of together. And also from then, we have friends and family and stuff like that. So news spread like pretty quick. I think it wasn't long before quite a few people in the a cappella network kind of knew who we were, just because we already had been doing stuff. And as far as I guess, social media, we're all pretty active in it. We, from YouTube to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, stuff like that, we really try and keep it up to date, keep relevant, because that's just how you reach people. And it's very awesome for us, because we're not, prima donnas or anything. We want to connect with the people who love the music that we create and love the same music as us. So things like Twitter and Facebook, it's such an easy way for us to reach out to our fans, and they can reach out to us and ask personal questions. Like, it's very like, despite it being over the internet, it's still very what's the word, Evan? Yeah, and despite being like miles and miles away from each other, you still kind of feel like connected, I guess, to not only, for me, the other members of Accent, but also the members of our fan base, and the members who kind of share this passion for vocal jazz. Yeah, and I would say, especially on the technology aspect, the barrier of entry for what we do in regards to producing music and videos, it's so easy now to get the software and the hardware to do this kind of thing. So although we have quite a lot of experience doing it, as well as, I'm a professional mix engineer, so I mean, this is what I do for a living. But actually, to get started in doing this kind of collaboration, whether it be with people in the same place at the same time, or whether it be working remotely, it is very doable these days. And we definitely kind of encourage that kind of collaboration, because you never really know who you might work with or who you might run into that really could change your life. Because I strongly believe Accent has completely changed my life, this whole experience, and I would really not want someone to miss out on that kind of feeling, I'd very much like to thank Behind the Mic for having us. This is a fantastic opportunity. It almost starting to really cement the fact that Accent is a real group, and things are really happening for us. And of course, we'd love to thank our family and friends who have been supporting us throughout this crazy adventure, and the fans. This is the reason we do it, is to connect with people through music. That's how we found each other. That's really what I think the true meaning of music is. So to those that continue to support us, our patrons, all those people, thank you so much.